Hey YouTube, Eric here from Guided. This week's video is going to be about the equipment that I'm using in the field when I'm out with my hunters. I just want you guys to stick around because at the end of this video I'm going to show a hunt from last fall and I'll kind of tell you guys the premise of it. But basically I had two mule deer hunters and we ended up getting on this really big buck. It was some awesome footage. Guy ended up shooting my rifle 525 yards, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a cool little clip. I hope you guys like that footage. But before I get into this, I want to talk to you and just want to thank everybody who watched my last video. I really appreciate all the likes, the comments, the subscriptions. It really means a lot to me that you guys took the time to watch that video. You know, that video was basically just me testing my own ability on those water jugs, and like I said, I really appreciate everybody who liked and subscribed to my channel. So we'll start off with my pack. I always have this pack with me. This is my day pack that I carry. This is a Mystery Ranch Pop-Up 28. I found that this size pack for me is a good size. I can carry the right amount of gear without getting crazy and carrying too much. Box of shells. Always have some extra shells with me. A little first aid kit. Yeah, I usually have my spotting scope attached to this. That's the pack I run. I love this pack. It's got an external frame, and it also has a feature where it has a load shelf where you can detach these top straps and extend them out, and you can almost create a load shelf, which is for carrying or packing out game quarters, deer quarters or elk quarters or whatever. Slide it down in between the bag and the frame. That's another reason why I really like this bag. I think it's really well made. The zippers are nice. They almost have a waterproof closure when you zip them up. The material is made out of, I think it's like a 550 Cordura. I could be wrong on that, but it's a very stout material, thick. It takes some abuse when you're in the field. Very nice lumbar hip belt that's attached to it. Shoulder straps are very comfortable. I really love this pack. It's got enough room for a day. And if you end up getting into where you end up getting harvesting the animal, you have to butcher it in the field and carry it out. This is a really good pack for that too. I wouldn't recommend it for more than a couple days. It's not that big. I highly recommend this. And I wanted to say all these things on this table here, I bought myself. None of this was given to me. This was all stuff that I purchased myself. And kind of over the years of being a hunting guide, I tried different products along the line, and this is what works for me. This is what I found works the best for me. So, Mystery Ranch Pop-Up 28. Love this pack. We're gonna head on to the bag. This bag is a cross tack bag. It comes with a front bag and a rear bag, and this is attached to this when you buy it. And I always have this bag attached to my pack when I'm in the field hunting. 90% of the shots that I take and my hunters take when I'm guiding hunters is off of this bag. Very nice bag. It's filled with foam beads. This is a very rock solid rest, especially from when you have the front rest and the back rest in a hunting situation. When you get set up and you see an animal out there feeding, he doesn't see you, you have time, you can get set up, get a nice solid rest, and that's the key thing to all shooting, short range to long range, having a nice solid rest. Very nice bag. I bought this bag at Scheels. It was around $100. It's a little pricey for a shooting bag, but I would highly recommend it. It's actually made out of the same material this is made out of. I think it's like a 550 Cordura, and very nice. Front and rear bag. Highly recommend this bag. Go on to the next thing. The next thing is my rifle. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm shooting. This is a factory Tikka T3 Superlight. It has the fluted barrel on it. It's just a sporter barrel. It's not a heavy barrel. On top I am running, the rings are Tally integrated ring base combo. I really love these rings. I have them on a lot of my rifles. The scope is a Husqvarna Blue Diamond scope, and it has a custom turret cut. So for those of you who don't know what a custom turret is, I'm going to come around here and show you. So the turret actually has yardage cut on the turret, and as you can see where it says 200, that's my zero. The gun is zeroed at 200 yards, and as you get out further to change the distance, this turret is actually cut out to 900 yards. The spacing gets further and further apart because the further you go, the more you have to turn the scope in order to get it to that yardage. So in a hunting situation, when I'm out with my hunters or myself and I range an animal at 500 yards, or let's just say 475 yards. I range it, I confirm it's 475 with my rangefinder. I turn the turret to 475, and then the hunter or me holds right on target where I want to hit. That's if there's no wind. If there's wind, that's another variable that we have to play with. The inside the scope on the horizontal crosshair, there's hash marks. There's little crosshairs on each side. They're not dots, they're little hash marks. So depending on how fast the wind's blowing and what direction the wind's blowing, those hash marks are where you would hold off to the left or the right, depending on the direction of the wind. And that's I analyze that in the field based on the wind speed, the direction. But if all possible, if you're ever in the field and the wind's blowing at a substantial amount, say 15, 20, 30 miles an hour, and you have a longer shot, if you can, always get where you're shooting directly into the wind. Any crosswind is going to affect the bullet. And if you get directly downwind of your target, a lot of times you don't have to hold off or windage. You're just shooting directly into the wind. So it's a light rifle. The scope with the rifle, I think, is around little over 7 pounds. And it's got, like I said, this turret is custom cut for my hunting conditions. And when I say hunting conditions, where I'm located here in Wyoming, we're at 4,500 feet above sea level elevation. And it's cut for a number of other factors, like the temperature, the velocity of my bullet that I'm using, which is, I will go over that in a second. So my particular turret is actually 2,903 feet a second is my average velocity out of this gun with this ammo. And I actually have it cut for 5,000 feet because I hunt between 4,500 and 5,500 feet. So I just went with an average, but my house here is located at 4,500 feet. So I just went in the middle there. So that's why it's 5,000. The temperature is average of 50 degrees. So that means my average hunting day, if I'm hunting early season, it could be 80 degrees, and in the late season, it could be 20 degrees. I kind of went right in the middle. In a hunting situation, I don't usually have my hunters shoot over 600 yards for the most part. It's usually 500 yards, 400 yards and in. So, but anyway, that's the custom turret. Like I said, it's cut for this particular bullet. I am using a Hornady Precision Hunter. I might have forgot to mention this is a 7mm Remington Magnum. But the ammo that I'm using is a Precision Hunter, and I'm using the 162 ELDX. This bullet out of this gun is very accurate, and when I say very accurate, for my shooting and for my long range shooting, this ammo with this gun, I can shoot. It's about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch group at 100 yards with this rifle. So it's for factory, nothing done with this gun. The only thing that I did is I adjusted the factory trigger on this gun just down just a little bit. It was just a little heavy for my liking. But this ammo with this rifle is very accurate for what I do. And I'm not a target shooter, I'm not a Ventra shooter, I'm a hunting guide. I get paid to take people out hunting to get them the animals that they're pursuing, whether that's antelope, mule deer, whitetail, elk, and anything else that we hunt. This is the gun that I carry. Well, I carry this gun all the time, but this gun my hunters use. I would say 75 to 85% of the hunters that I take, this is the rifle that they use to take game that's a little further. If we run into a situation where we just can't get any closer, if they're comfortable using my gun, I always have them use this rifle right here. A lot of guys that we get, they're comfortable to 200 yards to 250 to even 300 yards. We don't get a lot of guys that are comfortable out past that. So that's why I always have my rifle with me, just in case we get in that scenario. Now, by all means, I always have my hunters use their rifle if they can. But sometimes we get into a situation where it's a little further than what they're comfortable with. So that's why I always have my rifle. Hornady shoots very well with this gun, that's why I go with it. We're gonna move on to the spotting scope. This is a Kowa TSN 884. It's the straight body. They make an 883 and they make an 884. The straight body is the version that I go with. It has a TW11 eyepiece, and that eyepiece is sold separate than the body. This scope, this spotting scope with the eyepiece and the body and the case runs about $2,500. Now, I didn't pay $2,500 for it. I bought this scope on eBay, eyepiece and the body, for $1,500. I found this on, it was a smoking deal. It was a legit deal. I checked the guy out. He had 3 of these scopes, and I bought one, $1,500. That was a steal. But I purchased this cover aftermarket. It's about $100. A lot of the guys I work with have Swarovski scopes. I've compared this to a Swarovski. Swarovski's an awesome scope, but for the money, comparatively, I think Kowa TSN 884. It's got a pure fluorite crystal lens on it. This is an 88 millimeter lens. The objective lens is 88 millimeters. The eyepiece is a 20 to 70 magnification eyepiece, and it's a wide angle eyepiece. Spotting scope compared to a Swarovski is almost identical as far as clarity and quality. I personally can't see a difference, so that means I don't want to pay an extra $2,000, $2,500 for a spotting scope when I can't tell the difference between the two. So that's why I run Kowa. I love Kowa. The next thing that I always have with me, and I have this because, one, I like to film through my spotting scope, and especially in a hunting situation, if I have the time to set the spotting scope up, I will be glassing the animal that we're after with the spotting scope, analyzing it, making sure it's the right one we want to go for, and then almost always, if I can, I will attach this to the scope and film through my phone with this phone scope adapter. So this phone scope case comes with the case, and then you tell it, so you depend on the scope or the phone you have, that's the case that you're going to get for it, and then it has this plate that snaps into the case, and then this ring I bought, you have to designate which spotting scope you have. So this fits over the objective lens of my spotting scope, and then I can film with my phone through my spotting scope, and that's how I'm getting a lot of this footage, is filming through my spotting scope. This quality of this optic is so good that this is essentially like a telephoto lens. I can change the magnification on it, I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can clear it out. So why not use what I'm already carrying anyway? So that's why I go with the phone scope case that attaches to the Kowa scope, spotting scope. So anyway, if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to ask, feel free to leave a comment. I'd appreciate it. I'll get back to you. I'll answer anything you want. I'm gonna wrap this video up with a hunt from last fall. I'll kind of give you guys the premise of the video. I had 2 deer hunters. We were hunting mule deer. We were on this ranch, going to this old homestead where the deer kind of frequent around that old homestead. There's some trees around there. It's kind of out in the middle of the prairie. We go pulling up, there were some deer kind of moving across the prairie. We start glassing them, and one of them is just an absolute slammer. Big old muley. probably high 170s, low 180s. I didn't actually score it, but it was a big old muley buck. It was one of the biggest ones I'd seen on that ranch. And actually, I had never seen it until that day. I heard about it. The rancher had seen him before, but I had never seen him. But anyway, he never saw us. We were in the truck. We were just kind of driving and glassing, and we ended up seeing him go across the prairie. And we watched him go up and bed down in the sagebrush. Now, where he bedded to our location was roughly about, I think it was about 900 to 1,000 yards away. We just kind of watched him feed, and there was really nowhere we could go without him seeing us, because he was up on the hill higher than us, and he kind of had a bird's eye view of the whole area. So we were kind of pinned down. So long story short, I figured out what we were going to do. I was going to crawl down this hedgerow, and I don't show any of this in the footage because I just kind of wanted to get set up and wait on this deer to stand up and hopefully feed back down the hill towards the field. We laid there for about 5 hours. We laid in this one spot for about 5 hours, and we each took turns. I would watch, and then the hunter would take a rest, and then he would watch, and I'd take a rest. And so we watched this deer for about 5 hours, bedded down. He got up a couple times and bedded, but it was still too far for a shot. I think it was around 700 yards. I just didn't feel comfortable with the wind at 700 yards taking the shot, and not only that, he was on the horizon. So we just waited this deer out. The deer finally got up and started moving his way down the hill, and he got to a point, I think it was around 525 yards. We had a direct crosswind, probably about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Me and the hunter had talked a lot while we were laying there about where to hold and when the time came, and he got to a point where I thought, if he goes any further, he can be into this little valley and we won't see him anymore. He'll be out of sight, and we would probably pretty much lose him for that evening. So had a nice solid rest, same bag, same backpack, same shooting bag, got everything set up, and he fed his way down the hill and turned broadside, and then I'm gonna roll the footage here and you guys can watch what happened. 525 yard shot, one shot, and it was awesome footage, awesome hunt. Guy was ecstatic. He had never shot that far before. I told him that as long as he had a solid rest and he felt good that he was stable and steady, he'd go ahead and take the shot. He said he felt really good about how steady he was. So I told him where to put the crosshair. He pulled the trigger, and the rest is history. Anyway, guys, if you guys like this video, like this content, please like and subscribe. My name is Eric from Guided, and we will see you on next week's episode.